Viewers, now US President Donald Trump has said that he has secured what he calls total and permanent access to Greenland under a new framework deal with NATO, even as questions remain over sovereignty and alliance unity. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said allies now need to step up Arctic security to counter growing threats from Russia and China. Greenland's Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen has stated that he still does not know what the framework deal holds, but has welcomed dialogue, stressing that sovereignty is a red line. Let's listen in.
As I said, I don't know what there is in the agreement or the deal about my country that over some discussions I didn't attend. I don't know what concrete in it. What I'm saying is that we have a high-level working group that will sort things out. We have said from the beginning in Greenland, we have some red lines. We cannot cross the red lines. We have to respect our territorial integrity. We have to respect international law, sovereignty. One cannot question the voice of the people. To summarize, we choose the Kingdom of Denmark. We choose the EU. We choose NATO. This is not only a situation for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark. It's about the world order for all of us.
All right, joining me now in this discussion is Ross Feingold, political analyst, joins us from Taipei in Taiwan. Ross, thanks very much for joining me here at NewsX World. Does the conversation between Rutte and Trump indicate that Trump now has full access to Greenland?
Oh, we don't know what full access means at the moment. There's still much that remains to be done if President Trump is going to be satisfied. He appears to have given up for now the use of military force. It's not clear that he has given up taking full control of Greenland, or if he's going to propose that the U.S. would have sovereignty over patches or bubbles of territory within the island of Greenland. We simply don't know at the moment. But Greenland and Denmark and most European Union countries are very clear. They are adamantly against the United States taking full control of Greenland.
Sure. How do you think those negotiations are now going to take place? Because I don't know if we just played out the statement of Greenland leader who was clearly against any acquisition of his country.
We know that Greenland and Denmark have offered the United States options that are consistent with past practice and the current agreement that's in place with the United States, which is access to military bases or additional military bases if that's what the United States wants. That's not the same as giving the United States sovereign control over those territories where military bases are located. So we simply don't know where things stand among the stakeholders on that issue. We know that the United States is pushing to have sovereignty, and Greenland, Denmark, and most European Union countries reject that. And then separate from the issue of military bases and how many, and will the United States have sovereign control over those military base locations, is this issue of mining rights access. And it's a similar predicament. Is Greenland going to only grant mining concessions to American companies the way it would to companies from other countries? Or is Greenland willing to give sovereign control over locations where there are resources to be mined to the United States, which then in turn would give access to American companies? We simply don't know what President Trump's current thoughts on that are, but we do know, again, that Greenland's position is very clear. They're willing to give access, but they are not willing to give sovereignty.
Right. And what do you make of the remarks that have come from NATO Commander Mark Rutte? He says the discussions with Trump focused on Arctic security. So the focus from acquiring bit of an island has now shifted to the security of Arctic, which US says only it is capable of doing.
Rutte's role as Secretary General of NATO is to ensure that the NATO members are spending sufficient amounts on their national defense and covering the geographies that NATO is meant to defend. And that includes the Arctic, or one could say increasingly, going forward, increasingly includes the Arctic as ice melts and it becomes a more contested area. So it's understandable that Rutte is meeting with NATO member country leaders, most notably the United States, and having that conversation about Arctic security, along with the other issues that Rutte would normally discuss when he meets one-on-one or with groups of NATO member leaders, such as the war in Ukraine, for example. So Rutte is just doing his job, but ultimately it's not up to him who controls the sovereignty of Ukraine, of Greenland. That is simply not a decision within the scope of authority for the Secretary General of NATO.
Right. Ross, do stay on with me as we proceed. Viewers, European